Welcome to Ask a Member, a program of the Adrian Area Chamber of Commerce. I'm Ann Hughes, president of the Chamber, and today it's my pleasure to welcome John Ricketts, who is the registered investment advisor for Ricketts and Ricketts Associates.
You did good.
Better, as he told me, better known as the boss.
I'm the boss.
You're the boss.
Kind of have to remind you
today.
from time to time. Nice to meet you, Ann. You bet.
Tell us a little bit about your business. How long have you been in business?
Oh my goodness.
Where are you located? What do you do?
Make me old.
What do you do it for?
Yeah, well, I've been, I think it's my 37th year. Been in the business, yeah.
You are older than I thought.
And I've been right here downtown Adrian. We've got probably a little over 400 clients.
Wow.
We manage about $60 million of invested assets, so that's quite a bit of money in this community. So that we're handling for our clients. And out of those clients, probably 90% of them are 60 years and older. So retirement planning is really what our forte is, what we're really good at. And we try to, provide the best service we can for our clientele. But hopefully, we're a little bit different than other advisors in the area. And that, to me, service is what the name of the game is. Not that others don't do that, but we approach it a little bit differently because we help clients. We bring in a team of people. So we have attorneys that we work with, we have accountants, CPAs, we have trust officers, those types of things. And we bring the whole package to the client to make sure we're looking at everything as far as their planning, not just their dollars, looking at investing, that type of thing.
If somebody comes in and wants advice, depending on the size of their portfolio, or if they've just won the lottery,
you'd got a couple of those.
You'd sit down at the table with all of these folks and look at the entire package.
We actually have a three-step process that we ask clients to go through. The first step, we have like 3 meetings basically. The first meeting is our initial meeting. Let's just meet, don't bring anything, let's just talk. Let's take 45 minutes, an hour to get to know each other. Tell me why you're here, what can we do for you, and what's your situation, what are we trying to accomplish? And then we take some of the time to talk about us, what we do for our clients. What it's doing is helping us to see, are we the type of planner that you want to work with? Because remember, this is their monies. These are their livelihoods. This is the monies they're having. We don't want to be making a lot of financial mistakes. We also want to make sure we're comfortable with who we're working with. But also we're looking at them too. We want to make sure this is the clientele that we're looking for too. If you have certain ideas and we don't feel comfortable with that, and we're constantly knocking heads all the time, maybe you're not the clientele that we're looking for. But we don't stop there. We'll help you to find somebody else that maybe can be a little more comfortable for you.
So sometimes you might turn a potential client down.
Yeah, but don't just leave them go. If they would like, we can help them to find another advisor that maybe they'd be more comfortable with. It's just making sure that whomever they're with, that they've got their trust and confidence with, because again, this is their money, their livelihood that we're talking about. So that's our first step, is to get to know each other. And then the second step, I give them what I call a laundry list. It's about 3 pages. It's their homework. It's all the things, documents that we want them to bring in. Because again, my joke is that when I get done with you, I'm going to know what side of the bed you sleep on. Not quite that detailed, but pretty close. Because the more we know about you, the better recommendations that we can make and make sure we're doing the best job for you. So they take that laundry list and they go through, and it's gathering all the documentation. It's also answering a lot of questions about themselves, where they are financially. We always, they list where their bank accounts, how much they got in their accounts. I want them to know this right up front, that we're going to know all the details. We have to. We have to know all the stuff. Yeah, and who you owe money to, how much do you owe, what's your monthly payments, that type of thing. If you're still working, when do you plan on retiring? Lots of questions that we're going to be asking. But basically getting to know them, what does retirement look like for them? Where they want to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now. My problem is that we have the real world and we have hopes and expectations. And our job is to make sure that what they're hoping for, they have the resources and the finance to be able to accomplish those goals. And a lot of times they may not like what we have to tell them, but I'd rather be realistic with them and make sure they understand we don't want them running out of money. That's the biggest concern we have for our clientele. Excuse me. So that's the second step, and they'll come back in, and that's our data book meeting. And that meeting takes about 2 hours. Ask them all those nosy questions, make copies of everything they brought in, not making any recommendations, just fact-finding, just gathering information. Once I have all of that, and by the way, that book's about 20 pages deep that I have, my data book that I call it. But from there, then our third meeting, that's the most complicated meeting. That's our blueprint meeting. Based on all the information they brought in, now I'm giving them a report. give them very specific step-by-step recommendations in the estate planning area. Again, we're not attorneys, we're not here to practice law, but I've probably seen as many legal documents with all the attorneys in Lenawee County one time or another. So I know all the attorneys, are just about all of them, seen their documents, know who's good in this area, in that area, that type of thing. But the big thing is to look at those, and again, not to give legal advice, but to give them direction, saying if they're doing some estate planning, do they have a will? Most people don't even have a will, much less a durable power of attorney, medical patient advocate, or a trust. That's the best document if that's appropriate for them. But the point is that we're going to make recommendations in those areas, again, to encourage them to get to an attorney and get that work done. That's very, very important. Also, we make recommendations on their income tax planning, because we'll be looking at the last couple of years' income tax returns. Again, we're not a CPA, we're not the accountants, but again, I've seen so many tax returns. Every time we meet our clients, we pretty well know all the details we need to look at to make sure they're taking advantage of all the deductions, are they doing the right thing, especially today with Social Security kicking in. Get too detailed here, but how you take your Social Security and when you take it is really important today for the people retiring. And I'll get into that maybe in a couple of minutes, what I mean by that.
Okay.
But we want to do income tax plan. We don't want double taxation. Taxation on our income, taxation on our Social Security. It's a double taxing that we're trying to avoid. So we show clients how to minimize and avoid as much income taxes as possible. And then we look at their financial planning part of it. The recommendations would be, okay, here's the monies you have based on when you want to retire. If you're already retired, what's our expectation? What kind of returns we can expect on this? And factoring into inflation and taxes, that type of thing, and making sure we don't run out of money. The other thing we look at, if I have husband and wife, unfortunately, one of them is going to pass away first generally before the other one does. We have to have survivorship income, because that surviving spouse may be losing a lot of income, lose a Social Security check, maybe get a reduced amount of pension. We got to make sure that the money's going to be there to keep on that standard of living for that surviving spouse. So these a lot of the things that we're looking to do. It's a pretty complicated meeting. That's why I put it in writing for them. That's their book to keep. What that does, that's the 3 meetings. That gives them a chance to look at us, see if they're comfortable with us. Again, we're looking at them. Then from that step forward, it's up to them if they want to follow through. And then we probably recommend doing the legal stuff first.
Okay.
I think one of the biggest things that I like that makes us a little bit different is that when we say that we recommend you get your legal work done, we go with you in all the meetings. So when you meet with the attorney, we sit there with you with the attorney. You know, in other words, you're sitting on that side of the desk as a prospect. I'm sitting here, but when we go see the attorney, I'm on that side of the desk. Yeah, because I know the questions to ask. And my son Aaron, who's in the business with me, been here 14 years almost. Then we know the questions to ask. And we're not there to be the heroes. We just want to make sure that the client is comfortable with the attorney, because it's not our attorney. We're recommending or working with someone they want to work with. We want to make sure, again, is this somebody that you want to keep as your attorney for the rest of your life, and any other legal aspects that may come down the road. But we work with the attorneys, and we sit there in the meetings, and then when we're done, then we ask the attorneys if they want to follow through to send us a rough draft, because I've got all my notes and meetings and stuff from that meeting. Then we have a meeting with a client before we go back to the attorney. So they send us a rough draft, we go through all of that. I try to help them to make sure they understand what the layman's terms of all the stuff that's going on. Again, we're not attorneys, but we point out the things that are very important, maybe some things that weren't quite sure of. We make sure that they know what their options are, because the attorney have those in the computer. It's very easy to go back and change those. What you don't want to do is go back to the attorney's office. They're sitting with all these original documents. You say, you know what, I think I want to change this item or that item, start all over again.
Yeah.
So we try to make it very efficient for the attorneys too.
So
they like the way we work with it.
So
it
you're
works out pretty good.
you're taking a comprehensive look at
everything,
at their future, whether they come in and they're
Yeah.
40 or 50 or 60
Doesn't
or
matter.
70
Yeah.
or.
I wish we had more younger clients that are in their 30s and 40s. Unfortunately, their focus is just raising a family, getting started, jobs and all of that. May not have a lot of money to work with, and that's okay. That's future business for us. But if we can help them to learn about their their 401k at work, what their investment choices are, we can bring them up on the computer and help them look at all the different investments they have.
Get them thinking about
We can get them thinking about it and why we're pushing that, why it's important. It's about time of investment, not the timing of it. You know, when to get in, when to get out. That's what everybody hears about. To me, I'd rather you've been in it for 30 years. Because I know if you've been in it a long time, you're going to make money no matter what the market's doing that short period of time. So but I wish we had a lot more younger clients, but we don't.
Okay.
Because again, they tend to wait until they're in their 50s and all of a sudden, retirement, oh my goodness, 5-10 years away, that type of thing.
Let me ask you a question about retirement. Are people retiring later?
They
Is that a general trend?
That's a general trend. There's always exceptions to that. We saw in the auto industry, especially when they had all the buyouts and they were offering that, we saw the industries, almost go into, and some went into bankruptcy and they lost their jobs. So we've had a lot of that happening, some of that by choice. So we had to work with a lot of, especially automotive people, automotive related, and talk to them about, is the buyout a good deal for them? It looks good on paper, but when you figure the taxes and all the things you have to do and look at the income you're walking away from, you got to make sure you're making the right choice, because it's hard to change your mind 6 months later and want to go back. So we've got to make sure it's the right choice for them. But for the most part, you're right, that, and the reason being is people have really not saved enough money. And what we're finding is they've got to work longer to be able to accumulate as much money as they can if their health will allow them to. That's one of the biggest issues. They have to work longer for that. Again, I mentioned about Social Security. If people would see the difference, and that's where I hope one of our big expertise is when to take the Social Security, because I look at it as a lifetime income, and that's what it is. It's an annuity. When people understand how much increase they're going to get in their Social Security delayed payments if they wait, rather than taking it at 62 or 65 or 66, even wait till they're 70. What a huge difference in income. And I look at, if you're taking Social Security at 62, you're getting maybe max $1,500 a month. Wait till you're 70, you're getting $3,300 a month.
Wow.
Going forward, which check would you like
huge.
to have? And I don't mean to be negative, but if you pass away, which survivor check do you think your spouse would like to have? The $1,500 you took early, or the $3,300 that you took, because you waited till you're 70? So there's a lot of planning that needs to go in.
So as we wrap up, John, if you had one piece of advice to give people, would it have to do with Social
Well,
Security?
we do, yeah. It's all the planning there. It's the whole bottom line is finding a good financial advisor you can be comfortable with, whether it's us or anyone else that's out there. Because you can't do this alone. You cannot go alone and try to figure out. You wouldn't go to a doctor, be your own doctor and try to figure out your medical problems. No different than the financial planning. A good financial planner can make all the difference in the world, the type of lifestyle you can have the rest of your life. So good programs out there.
Somebody wants to call you and Aaron for financial
You betcha,
planning?
anytime. Call our office at 517 area, 265-3540. Again, 265-3540.
Very good.
Okay.
Thank you
Nice
very
to
much,
see you
John.
again.
Nice to see
You
you.
bet.